welcome for all of those listening in as well on the recording. June's Tradie Masterclass is up and running. As per the introduction, what I wanted to raise for discussion tonight is calculating your hourly rate. And for those who have been in some past masterclasses, we've talked about calculating your minimum daily return, determining what your hourly rate should be. And what I did for everyone that's here tonight who registered in your emails 10 minutes ago, I've sent you a revised and updated MDR spreadsheet, not for you to open now, but for you to go and have a play with later, because I'm about to share my screen and go through it with you now. And then we're just going to open up the discussions as well. So what I wanted to raise for discussion tonight was what makes up your hourly rate. So traditionally, when we quote, we put an hourly rate in for our costs of our labour, and we throw in all our materials, and we might do some markups on the way through. But unbeknownst to some who I've spoken to one-on-one in the past, the makeup of what makes that hourly rate, because that's not all your money, as we all know. Some of it's going to be your money, some of it is not going to be your money. And I want to make sure that your hourly rate, not for the market, although we want to check if it's marketable, I want to make sure that your hourly rate covers the expenses that you have, both in your personal life and in your business. And so the updated MDR spreadsheet certainly helps with that. So allow me to share my screen and we'll get kicking. And I'm going to quickly run through the new file, because some have seen this, others it'll be for the first time. So down the bottom, we've got 3 tabs: how to use this sheet, data, and my hourly rate. So in the data, this is where you can populate everything you spend money on, both for your personal expenses and then further to the right on all your business expenses. So anything you spend money on, and whether it be weekly, fortnightly, monthly, just keep chucking those numbers in, anything that comes out of your account. And the same for your business, including things like public liability and work cover, etc. Just chuck it all in there. The only thing that's not in here is the profit you want to make out of your business, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Again, my caveat is I'm not your financial advisor, and that's that green big bar at the top. I'm giving you some thoughts, but of course, your own personal financial well-being and issues are something that you want to talk to your professional advisors about. So I am only going to throw in one number here as an example. So I'm going to suggest that life costs you $80,000, and I'm just going to put a number in there so that we can use the sheet for later. And I'm going to suggest that your business costs you $76,000 to run. So after you put all those numbers in, then we go on to this final sheet called My Hourly Rate. And this is where you get to start playing with some numbers. So when you're in front of this sheet, it's only the 7 yellow boxes you need to worry about. So in your state, you want to count up all the public holidays that you have, because what we're trying to calculate now is how many days you're able to bill yourself out at. So I've just put in some nominal numbers here that we're going to put in the fact that we have 10 public holidays and we're going to not work on public holidays. We also want to put an estimate in for days you're not going to be able to work, whether that be weather, your own sickness, unplanned events, your own leave, etc. Put a number in there. And then how many hours a day do you think you could invoice yourself for? Again, just the number. Next one is if you had someone working for you or someone doing the work for you, what would their charge rate to you be? And I've just nominated $50 there. The next one is how much money do you want to earn over and above? So if you were paying someone $50 an hour to do all of the work that you generated, and all of that money is going to that person, then how much money after you've paid for all of your personal expenses, after you've paid for all of your business expenses, how much more do you want to have in your pocket at the end of the year? And I'm going to suggest we want to have 60K. And then I want you to decide on if you're going to work Saturdays or not. And in this box, if you don't want to work Saturdays, then as the description says, you simply type in the number of 261. If you want to work Saturdays, you type in 287, and that's it. And the rest will work out for you. So what happens now is that you've chosen to, that you'll be working 261. You won't be working for another 30 of those, and that's your nominated numbers out of those top two boxes. So now you've got an opportunity to bill yourself out for 231 days or 1,386 hours for a 12-month period. And when we look at what costs you, this is all calculated for you per hour. So a worker's hourly rate is going to cost you $50. Your business expenses of $76,000 now equates to $54 an hour. Your personal expenses of 80 grand equates to $57 an hour, and the extra 60 grand you want to earn on top of all of that equates to 43. Your hourly rate should be $205. But what the sheet is suggesting is that if you bill yourself out for 6 hours a day for 231 days this year at $205, you'll pay for everything that's on that sheet. If your hourly rate is $125, the last yellow box there, you'll be down 100 grand in round numbers at the end of the year. Or you won't realise your $60,000 and you'll need to find another 40 to afford yourself. Questions? Questions, comments?
Greg, if you're in a husband and wife team, and so maybe there's an adjustment to the MDR spreadsheet that needs to be done as additional sources of income, because you're looking at total household expenses, saying that you're going to do that all yourself.
Yes.
So there may be an opportunity to put in additional sources of income as a block number.
Yeah, and I thought about, if the wife is going to cover through her wage all of your personal expenses, for example, if I go back to the data sheet, once you put all your personal expenses, if you scroll down, all of those are listed here in total. So you might find that, and this is monthly, so you might find that your spouse, partner, whoever is going to fully pay for those. What I would suggest you do is then you could wipe them all off the sheet and then just concentrate on what your business is costing you. Good point. Other comments? I'll stop sharing.
Pretty scary when you see it.
Yeah, well, it might be. It might be, and that's what I want to. This is not to scare. This is to understand.
So I have a comment. What if you work that many hours? What if something else happens? You work less than that hours? Does that mean you're not going to make you pay?
Yeah. And if you can't think of billing yourself out for 6 hours a day and it's 5 hours a day, then your hourly rate needs to be larger to compensate.
That's what I'm thinking. And I'm asking, what's the scary part? Because I just heard someone say, well, it's scary. Is it scary at the thought of how much you have to charge per hour, or is it scary at the thought of how much you're not charging?
It's probably a combination of both, I suppose, and also how much you spend.
So there's two ways to solve the sheet. Is one, charge what it suggests to charge, and then make sure you're doing that 6 hours every day if 6 hours is your number, or go and have a look at what you're spending money on and pull back what you're spending money on. And we've talked in these masterclasses previously, which is why we had Scott from Ozshore come along and talk insurances. So when you get your insurance invoice, is that a signal for you just to pay it? Or is it a signal to say, I might put this out to market? Let's see if I can get $500 off it.
What do you mean, Greg?
But when your insurance renewal comes through,
Yeah.
is that a signal that, oh, sure, I better pay that, so I'm still insured? Or is it also a signal to say, I might put this out to market and see if I can find a broker to get me a better deal?
I've got a pretty good broker who I'm very, very happy with, and I do all my insurances myself until probably about 2 years ago.
No, I understand. I'm just using it as an example.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
As an example of all of those numbers that you would populate into that data sheet, insurance is just one of the costs.
What about material costs and stuff like that? Like they're sort of fixed costs. There's not much we can do.
You'll notice I haven't talked materials at all, because if we're doing a right job quoting for materials, they should cover themselves. And you might make 20% on top of those. Well, that's cream for me, but I'm calling that cream.
Because you've got to charge for the hour plus the materials, right?
Sure. Sure.
And that doesn't count profit. Are you saying that doesn't count profit? Because that's a different section?
It can go into your profit, but if this sheet comes out good just for your labour, and you're monitoring what you're billing yourself out at for labour, then allow the material markup as cream for you at the end of the year.
That's the same. That would be the same with subcontractor markup too, Greg.
Yeah, any markup, Neil. Any markup. This is obviously raw data.
Yeah.
For you to take away and go, right, it's saying what it's saying for me. Is it what I have to absolutely do, or are there other things in my business? If you're a business that's running 60% material costs and you're marking everything up at 25%, well, that's probably a number you'd want to include into, can I afford myself or not?
Yep.
But if you're a business only with a 20% material cost and most of it's labour, I'd forget about even talking about materials. And just say, I'm going to make the labour make this sheet sing. And if it sings, then I'll take some cream for the materials at the end of the year.
One thing regarding an hourly rate is, before I started using you, Greg, admin's the answer, I think I've been with you for what, maybe 2 years? 2 years? And anyway.
Feels like 3 weeks, Jack.
Anyway, I was charging myself out at a lot less than what I am now, and that's why I was going backwards. Whereas now, it wasn't until I actually went through the costs of running the business, I went, oh, geez, I'm actually in the negative than in the positive.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think one of the things you got to think about, Jack, too, is that if you're a business owner and taking all the risks of running that business and all those expenses, you got to think about, you could go and work as just on an hourly rate for somebody else with no business expenses on top of it, and perhaps do better off. So you've got to think about, you've got the value of your business is tied up in your business. If you put that money in the bank and got a return on that, and then you went out and charge an hourly rate for your time, add that to the investment that you've got in the bank, how much do you need to make it worthwhile you to be the business owner?
Can I add a perspective onto what Neil said?
Sure.
If that's the case and you're going to be open to raising your rates because you are taking on all of these risks, then if you put this into the context of your life, you might as well just go up to a higher trajectory entirely to get over that hump of those risks, so that they're not even big risks anymore, that your income ends up becoming well worth all those risks because other people are doing the work. You've grown your business to the point where it's got a big team. I just want to put that in perspective, getting up to the point where you're looking at all these risks. Well, if you get way beyond that, those risks generally can stay within a controllable amount, but your income is really high. So if you're going to get in it, go in it. That would be my perspective there. Something to think about.
Well, one thing I realize is that, like I chat to a lot of other tradies, and I'm charging what I should be charging, but I know landscapers that are charging 20 to 30% less than me, and they're running multi-million dollar companies. And the thing that I question is how are these guys running their businesses when their turnover is so much, their profit must be quite small? Because, you know, I look at my rates and then I look at rates of other landscapers, and their rates are, as I said, 20 to 30% less than me. How are they making money at the end of the day? Or are they not?
Or are they not?
Maybe they're not. Hey, Jack, can I ask a question? So comparing price, just curiosity, right? Because this is the sales side of me. So curiosity, how is comparing your price to somebody else's helping or not helping you? Does that make you fearful of the price that you charge compared to someone else?
No, I make conversation with people who are in my industry and just find out what they're charging. And, you know, there's guys who are charging, you know, 60, 65 bucks an hour. I'm 100 an hour plus GST.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm thinking, how are these guys making any money? Because I used to charge 60 to 65 2 to 3 years ago, and I wasn't getting anywhere. You know?
Do you ask them, why do you charge that? Because how isn't the problem? It's like, why are you charging that?
Well, this is the thing. I don't know. They must be, you know, obviously not. I guess the customers that they're probably doing work for can't afford, you know, that $100 an hour. I don't know.
Jack,
It seems like that.
mortgage.
Often it's a confidence thing, though. They just don't believe.
Sorry, can I jump
they
in
can
there?
charge more.
Just, I often get asked what my hourly rate is, and I can tell them $100. But if you want to hear me say $50, I can say $50. I'll just work twice as slow. So hourly rate doesn't naturally reflect what you're going to cost. So maybe asking them what their hourly rate is may not be a true reflection of whether they're making money or not, because they could be dragging out the jobs a lot longer than what you would. You don't know.
That's true. And one thing, feedback that I get from my customers is saying, you get in, you get out, you do an awesome job, and we're really happy with what you do. And I almost get probably 90% of the jobs we do, we get good customer feedback.
And I call you back.
Yeah. They always call me back. Or there's always word of mouth.
So Faith and I know a cleaner. His name's Glenn from that cleaning crew. And he said, because we go faster than anyone else, we charge twice as much. Because it's about getting a result in the time frame. It's not about charging per job. But really, Greg, if we were to look at the hourly rate, that's more personally to look at how much I need to charge. But that's not necessarily how I quote. I mean, you might quote on the hourly rate, but internally you're actually really quoting on the job that needs to be done. But you personally need to know exactly what you have to quote. And the guy that charges takes twice as long, well, isn't that unhelpful to him? Because he's now getting charged $65 an hour for 4 hours worth of work each time. He's still only getting half the pay. If he's going to charge 65, he needs to be doing it in half the amount of time. Like quoting that much, but then getting it done in half the amount. So we do twice as much jobs in the, like, it's all a weird maths problem. But
and the spreadsheet is only to check whether you're going to be okay.
Yeah,
because that's the first thing. Jack, I don't care too much. Sorry, his spreadsheet and your spreadsheet may show very, very, very different numbers, and he might be okay charging a smaller hourly rate because his costs to live are a lot smaller. And you'll never know that. You'll never know that. If he's going to share that with you, you know, knock yourself out, but you'll never know that. So who knows? He might have had an inheritance and he doesn't have a mortgage. Who knows?
Can I just add something in there, Greg?
Yes,
and for
mate.
Jack as well.
Yeah.
I work for a lot of plumbers too, Jack. Because we specialise in what we do, we work for a lot of other trades, and we always discuss, you know, hourly rates, and they go, oh, how do you charge so much, or, you know, all that sort of stuff. And the best advice I can give you is don't get hung up on what everybody else is charging. Work out what you need to charge and work out what you're worth, and put a value on your worth, and then you just charge that. If that means you'll triple what the market is, then that's it. You'll triple the market. If you need to make, if you need to charge 300 an hour, you need to charge 300 an hour to cover your costs and to make money on top of that. You know what I mean? So don't get too hung up on what they're all charging. Just, if they want to go backwards, let them go backwards. But the main thing is you've done your numbers and you know where you're sitting, and that's the most important thing. I wouldn't get too hung up on what everybody else is doing.
Also, I've only got 2 staff, but I pay them very good money.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, how, if there's someone charging 20 to 30% less than me,
yeah,
I think they would be.
They might not have any staff.
Yeah. Misty made some great points there as well. If he's coming in and charging $65 an hour, he's probably going to drag that job out. There's no incentive there for him to look after that client, to get in and out and do the job properly in a decent time frame. So
his staff are probably underpaid as well.
Yeah, that's right. And they're probably not happy
if he's got staff
doing the job properly too. So it opens up a big can of worms for them too. So, happy staff create great feedback from your clients as well. A Google review just actually came through saying how good my guys were on a job. So, and they're paid extremely well for what they do as well. And they're all happy and they all turn up and do the job.
How many staff do you have, Corey?
I've got two guys at the moment. And I suppose you could count Greg as my third. But yeah, I've got a couple of guys there that work for me. And yeah, a lot of plumbers, there's a lot of fear around price in the trades.
It's with anyone. Everybody has fear around money because we don't have as much as we want.
Yeah, and a lot of things too, a lot of people think, oh, that customer can't afford it, but you're not their accountant. You're their landscaper. You're there to do a landscaping job. You're not there to save them money. They've called you because they want a landscaping job done. They haven't called you to save them money. So if that job costs, $20,000 job, it's a $20,000 job, then that's what it is. So it's
there's no point you doing it for less. If somebody else does it for less, then they get the job, but there's no point you doing it for less.
Yeah.
It means that your family doesn't get to eat and you don't get to eat and you've wasted all your time. But there's some ways around, Jack. So it's one thing for you to think towards somebody, and this is for everybody, right? So one thing for us to think towards someone going,
why are you so expensive? And I turn around and say, well, why are you so cheap?
Yeah. But to be unargumentative, the answer is because that's my price.
That is what it is.
Explanations.
You can sit at home and go broke. You don't need to go to work and go broke.
Yeah. But
I think the good thing about the MDR spreadsheet is it gives you a bit of an idea of how much you actually should be trying to as a target. One thing we never ever charge an hourly rate ever.
Yeah.
We use the hourly rate in the calculation of our quote,
yep.
And then we provide that quote to the client. I know I'm not going to be the cheapest because no matter what I quote, somebody will always do it cheaper.
There's always going to be someone cheaper and always going to be someone more expensive.
Yeah,
you don't have to be the cheapest. You just have to be the best.
Yeah,
that's right. Exactly right.
So you've got to sell. You've got to sell the outcome for the price rather than what the hourly rate is. And if as soon as you put out there what your hourly rate is, people will compare you with everybody that's in the local paper that are some guy that's, so that's a losing thing. However, you do need to know what your costs are, so to make sure that when you are working using all the calculations that you're making sufficient money. Because looking at your bank account at the end of the month to see if there's anything left or not is looking at it after the event.
The MDR, I would implore you to throw all your numbers in there, scaringly or non-scaringly. Have a look at what it says. Do some market research for what that number says, and at the end of the day, it's your business, it's your life, it's your family you're trying to look after. So just make sure that the numbers are going to satisfy that. Best case scenario, the number says 95 and you're charging 130. That would be the best outcome, but I won't promote it. You look at it yourself. So thank you, everyone.